All right, before we talk about the issue for today,
I
have an announcement to make.
What's going on?
Because Solution on Wheels previously has a client. A client called Wyeth Nutritions.
Okay.
And they sponsor us.
Okay.
To go to some of the primary schools.
Oh, really? Okay.
To train. Younger students.
Okay.
10 years old.
Okay.
To 12 years old.
Yeah.
For public speaking.
Yeah.
So they will go on this studio.
Okay.
And we'll learn how to be interviewed or interview others.
Okay.
And the reason I have to say that because the news we're going to talk about is related to milk powder.
Yes, it is.
But we don't have a contract with them right now, so there should be no conflict of interest.
Well, same here. I got no connection to the milk powder people.
Yeah, milk powder and freedom of speech.
That's what I want to talk about
How
today.
does it relate?
Yeah.
Andrew.
So about a week and a half ago, there was a show on RTHK's Hong Kong Today. And I took note of it because I kind of flew off the handle a little bit. And I wrote something up for Last Harbour Times, which came out on Friday, and this was my op-ed. Okay, and slow day, let's go. So I want to talk about this instead. So what you had was a woman named Dr. Ip, and I gotta go to the notes for this. Because the name of her organization is she is the vice chairman of the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund Baby Friendly Hospital Initiative Hong Kong Association.
Do it again.
It's like a challenge. It's like a challenge, isn't it? Okay, so the first part, United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, you could shorten to be UNICEF.
Yeah.
Fairly well-known group. Even still, it's the UNICEF Baby Friendly Hospital Initiative Hong Kong Association. I mean, that's a title and a half. So Mrs. Ip's on Hong Kong Today, and she is saying we should, legislate, we should restrict, we should ban milk powder advertising. And here are the reasons. Okay. Now, there's the first one they lead with, they say, they make claims that are not, as she says, claims that are not evidence-based. They mislead the public. It's like, okay, we have laws against fraud in Hong Kong. And presumably, if people were conducting those kind of activities, you could prosecute them under fraud laws. In addition, we have labeling laws in Hong Kong. Anything you buy, doesn't matter what it is. And claims is like a whole separate law. So there are like 3 sets of laws that regulate these guys already. And so to say, they're breaking these laws. Well, if they were, then fine. Then the prosecutors can get on their case. But that hasn't happened. You know what I mean? And this issue has been in place. I don't think that's actually really a problem. Here, then they get to the real part. Mothers thought that some ingredients which had been added to formula milk is only found when it is naturally occurring in breast milk. So, in other words, mothers don't understand what they're talking about. And so because they are not doing their research, because they're just taking things that, whatever they see in front of them, freedom of speech is therefore to be restricted. Now, I have a problem with that.
I don't believe that.
It gets worse.
I mean, look at the mothers in Hong Kong. They're so educated.
Generally, and not at all levels of society, and not all of them put the same effort in. But generally, we have
and then they go to those health clinics. And the nurses give them a lot of information as well.
And nurses in Hong Kong are definitely on with breastfeeding, which personally I think is the way to go if you can, right? Not everybody can. Mothers yesterday on meeting Dr. Greenman, they'd had a conference with some doctors, mentioned a lot of pressures they faced from their relatives and friends because they believe formula milk is better than breast milk. They have to spend a lot of energy counteracting these negative comments from the relatives. Okay, so your mother-in-law is on your case, therefore everybody's freedom of speech has to be restricted. That's the argument they're making. It's like, really, your mother-in-law is going to be the reason that I don't have freedom of speech. I mean, this really...
Okay, let us do a comparison.
Okay.
I mean, in Hong Kong, people now usually goes to the extreme and ask for a ban. A ban on everything. A ban on milk powder advertising. Okay? But let me do a comparison.
Sure.
In Hong Kong, there are two types of advertising.
Right.
Which has been banned.
Okay.
Has been banned.
Right.
The broadcasting law.
Okay.
The broadcasting ordinance.
Yep.
Specifically ban political advertising.
Okay, yeah.
And that specific reason is because in the colonial days, they have to have very tight control.
Okay.
Especially after 1967.
And now that is radio and television, right?
Radio and television.
Newspaper, no problem.
Newspaper, they don't have to get licensed, so they're not bound by the broadcasting ordinance. But for licensed broadcaster, they have to adhere to this law for a ban on all political advertising. The reason behind that is for a political reason.
Yeah.
All right? And then you have the famous ban on tobacco advertising.
Right. Yeah,
which is a global trend on not to promote smoking.
Right.
Which is hazardous to health.
Yeah.
And there's a direct correlation between smoking and various types of cancer.
Right.
All right? Okay, you have political advertising ban, you have tobacco advertising ban. I don't see how politics, tobacco, and milk powder are equal. They're completely different.
They are completely different.
I mean, you ban tobacco advertising for a specific reason, but I don't think milk powder is the same types of product.
No, it's a completely different product.
As tobacco products.
And even the
doesn't
tobacco
make sense.
Well, part of the tobacco argument, and I'm not necessarily saying I buy into this, but part of the tobacco argument was that they were targeting children, like Joe Camel and all that. And so therefore we had to get it out because otherwise kids would starve.
But milk powder is targeting parents.
Exactly. You know, people mix this up. They're like, oh, it's a product for children. Yeah, but, a 6-month-old is not going to walk into a store and buy his own milk powder. Yeah. It's for adults who make adult decisions, can process information. Supposedly, if they have good enough judgment to have children and be responsible for children, they can read a label on a milk powder can or listen to a nurse talk about breastfeeding and make a decision. So this, and I guess this all comes back to the ultimate idea is that if you let one group ban what they don't like, another group's going to ban what they don't like, and somebody else is going to ban what they don't like, and pretty soon, everybody dislikes everything. You can draw enough lines, and pretty soon everything is banned. And so, when I hear these people saying things like, "Oh, their relatives put pressure on them," that's your reason for degrading freedom of speech? I don't buy it. So, that was the op-ed in Harvard Times this week, and there was actually funny. You should talk about the political. Maybe we can talk about that tomorrow. But that's my point. If you take away one person's freedom of speech, you better have a very, very solid reasoning. And I'm afraid milk powder, that doesn't pass the test.
Kira for today.
Yeah.
Ban. We should seriously think about that.
Short and sweet. Yeah, bans. Yeah.